Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Coronation Street's Sue Cleaver on unhappy teenage years and shock meeting with bio family. On the cobbles of Coronation Street, Eileen Grimshaw is known as a straight-talking matriarch who fiercely defends her family and loved ones. In real life, actress Sue Cleaver, who plays Eileen, has two families, her adoptive family and biological. And appearing on Good Morning Britain on Thursday, she revealed the shocking way she met her biological mum. Sue was at drama school and the Royal Exchange in Manchester were auditioning for parts in Oedipus. She revealed, "I met an actor called Michael Harper who met me and said, 'She's the double of my wife.' And the next thing I know he had left the party and gone to a phone box, and he called her and said, 'I found her. He was married to my birth mother.'" Sue continued, "It is interesting because growing up, we didn't go to the theater or anything, but when I met my birth mother, their whole family were in the business." Sue told GMB co-host Richard Madeley that her birth mom said she always had a feeling that she would be reunited with Sue. The star added, "I have my wonderful family, and now I have birth family." The star had previously shared the emotive story with The Mirror. But while it may seem like an impossible coincidence, the chance discovery of her birth family was not even remotely the most outrageous thing to have happened in Sue's life. For while she grew up in a loving home and her adoptive parents did everything they could for her, her teenage years were full of insecurity, and this made her vulnerable. Indeed, Sue was so full of self-doubt, she found herself being taken advantage of by older boyfriends. As a teenager, she lost her virginity to an older boy. At 16, she ran off with a sailor and lived in a bedsit, and at 17, she found herself pregnant after falling for a 35-year-old man. "I looked for love and validation and acceptance in all the wrong places, and my first sexual encounters were with somebody who was 4 or 5 years older than me," Sue says. "Nowadays that would just be unthinkable, but it wasn't at the time. It was no one's fault, and my parents, who were fantastic, only ever tried to do their best for me, but like a lot of teenagers I was lost. Nowadays there is awareness around mental health, but when I was that age, we had no concept of it, and when I look back, I was very unhappy. I'd never want to relive that time again." At 60, Sue has clocked up a quarter of a century at Coronation Street, and is now also a regular panelist on the lunchtime chat show Loose Women. But as a teenager, she found herself struggling to fit in. She's been sharing her story for the first time ahead of the release of her candid, and at times heartbreaking new memoir, a work in progress. And it's a far cry from the feisty Eileen we see on screen. "There were boyfriends, one-night stands. I convinced myself that, oh, if I do this, they will love me. I was always searching for a way to belong," she says. "It was tragic, really, and it breaks my heart to think about it now. There's so much shame wrapped up in my teenage years. I was just searching and searching for someone to make me feel okay, because I didn't know how to be okay myself, so I became really promiscuous." Sue went off the rails at school and began to make bad choices, thinking nothing of hitchhiking or walking home in the dark. By 15, she had a steady boyfriend, but left him for his older brother, a sailor in the Navy. At 16, she quit school with no qualifications and moved to Plymouth to live with him in a bedsit. Lonely and bored, she eventually moved back to Manchester to live with her parents. But after hanging out with an older crowd at a local wine bar, she ended up pregnant at 17 by a 35-year-old man. "Again, that was somebody who was way older than me and took advantage," Sue says. "Now it's appalling to think of myself at that young age in that situation with men who should know better." Knowing she wouldn't be able to cope with a baby, Sue booked herself in for an abortion without telling a soul what she was going through. She says, "I was in absolute turmoil. I eventually told my mom. I said, 'This has happened. I'm going to the hospital on this date. Can I have a lift, and can we not tell Dad?' I don't think we ever spoke about it again, but that was my choice. I don't think we knew how to. My dad never knew. I look back and think I was so resilient. I just got on and I dealt with stuff.